there's a path to Cup for me where I'm at right now, and I don't know if I saw that where I was before. Trying to keep my mouth shut as best as possible, like that was the best move for me, at that time.
Maybe Brendan can chime in on this as well, but racing in a contract year, like you said, like, does that change your approach at all? Is it difficult to sort of get back, just back to square one, say, hey, I know I can do this, just go business as usual? Or do you find yourself putting that extra pressure on yourself?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the season, I knew that I needed to win a lot, but I didn't really have the confidence to talk to myself the right way. And I got to Daytona, and we didn't realize until about a month after Daytona, but like we finished ninth there. We had like a spin halfway through the race, had to come back from that, but we were running fourth on the last lap, but we weren't great at Daytona, and we didn't realize till a month later that we had something broke in the motor, like a valve spring or something like that. Um, so I just thought I sucked there. And then we went to Phoenix and we were leading that race. And that was like going to be like a, really good performance for who I was at the time. And, Connor Jones, poor Jack Wood into us and wrecked us leading the race. And that was kind of like the turning point was I got home from that race and I was like, I just probably won't make it as a race car driver. I didn't think I was that bad. I just thought that like I just couldn't win races, and obviously you need to win races and to have a shot, to have the funding, to have the sponsorship, and to get team owners want to drive your race cars, you got to win. So I just thought there was something about what I was doing that I couldn't win. I thought I tried everything, and I got to Talladega because I thought back about races like Salem where like I beat Ty Gibbs straight up, and I thought back to like different super late races where I won against Majeski and Bubba and Steve and Assy, and like midget races where I was able to beat Buddy, and sprint car races where I able to beat Rico and Kyle, like just stuff like that where I was like, man, on my best day I'm pretty good, but man, I can't really duplicate that performance enough for like the last 2 years is kind of what I was thinking. So I got to Talladega. My mindset was just like, okay, like from now on for the rest of the year, we'll see if it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Wasn't gonna give up probably, but I needed to do something different. My thought process was that if I could just have my best day every single day, and like every single time I get to the racetrack, have that like peak performance and like that number one um, like performance on the racetrack, that maybe I could, duplicate those performances. And if I can duplicate those performances and do the best job that I can possibly do, then I'd probably be able to win, a lot of races. So that's what I, thought. And I obviously won Talladega. And obviously the first one of the year is always the hardest one to get. And then after that, I just kind of snowballed. And every single, race weekend I went into, I just thought about doing the best job that Jesse Love could do. And that turned into, winning a national midget race, and it turned into winning, super late races and obviously ARCA races and running good in a truck. So, and I never got caught up in like how many wins we had on the season. Like obviously we had a lot, and I'd always put up the number in victory lane when, Shannon and Billy would remind me, but that wasn't really the focus. The focus was like not winning anymore. I didn't really care about winning as much. And I just kind of cared about like the performance that I put on at the racetrack and if I was proud of that or not when I left.
Yeah, I think it's awesome to listen to you talk. And I'm gonna say this again because I've spotted for you. You're another driver that I actually got to spot for. I know we just had Eric on, but I spotted for Jesse a few years ago now, I guess. And it's pretty awesome to see how much you grew from then to now, right? Like then, I mean, you're a lot younger.
Mm,
And you could see the potential. It's the maturity that you grow into, which obviously you've learned on just how can I maximize myself every single day and just do that. And 9 times out of 10, it turns into results, which it obviously has for you. And then now to have this awesome, huge opportunity that so many people, are fighting for that you have for next year to be with a great organization. It's a huge opportunity. So I'm happy for you. And I now get to race with you. We've never raced against each other. So next year we'll be on the track at the same time. So I think it's gonna be fun.
yeah, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it as well. No, and he hit the nail on the head there. Like obviously Billy and Kathy and everybody at Venturini, like they've done a ton obviously for him and a ton for me. And obviously I feel like, Billy for me was like my true like driver developer, and that was a big proponent into me learning how to win this year and obviously learning how to lose as well. obviously sometimes people don't always agree with what he does or what he has to say, but it's always just because he cares and obviously gives a heck and wants people to succeed and obviously wants to go win races. So
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with that 100%.
I guess I want to take things back a little bit here, Jesse, since you're, I guess, back home. Tell us, where did you get started racing? What age? What were some of your first early racing experiences like?
yeah, so my dad raced with Jeff Gordon growing up. They were, just two friends that were on the road racing in quarter midgets out here, um, with like John Bickford at the time, who's Jeff's stepdad, and my obviously Jeff went off to dabble in racing, and my dad and said went off to law school. So that was kind of like how they split. And my dad obviously kind of had racing in the background his whole life, just kind of keeping up, and obviously, but he wasn't in it. So growing up, I still remember being a little bit younger, like than 5 years old, and knowing what racing was. But I didn't sit in a car until I was about four. My uncle Tony had two daughters that were in quarter midget racing, and I went out there to their shop just to sit in the car. And I remember sitting in the car for the first time and firing up for the first time. It was like some junior novice car, and went out to the racetrack, and I won my first race, and which probably wasn't too hard. I was racing against 5 year olds, but you know,
A win is a win.
learned yeah, wins a win. Did the the training and all that stuff. 5 years old was really young. I don't realize like until I see a 5 year old, and then I was driving a car, like a moving
Mhm.
vehicle by myself at that age. They can't even control their bowels, let alone drive a car. So it is pretty crazy to think about that. Um, but yeah, I started doing open wheel like midgets and sprint cars after that. I did that for 2 or 3 years, and never did the dirt stuff enough to really be like good enough to the really good dirt guys like Justin Grant, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, like that's and Tanner Thorson, like that's what they do, right? Like that's all they do, and it was I got to race with those guys in their prime, which is still now, and race with them last night. Like those guys are the best at what they do. So I learned how to race open wheel against those guys, and that helped me out a lot to where now I can go to the racetrack and contend for wins and run well and set track records and run up front. So that was always really cool. I remember those memories growing up. And the California sprint car scene is really cool. It's pretty crazy to be in a sprint car at 13 years old.
Yeah.
But it taught me how to, just kind of, I don't know. It's really weird when you're in a really fast car that can, kill you and hurt you, and you're going that fast at that young of an age. It just kind of, toughens you up a little bit. And that's part of the reason I still run dirt is because like all the sketchy stuff I do in a stock car, you don't even think about, like, it doesn't feel sketchy at all. It's like, it's nothing. So when you do it in a midget, the sketchy stuff feels sketchy as hell, right? Like you're going really fast. The thing wants to flip out of the park every lap. And in a sprint car, you're going Mach 10 the entire time. So it makes the pavement stuff feel so much easier. And yeah, I did junior late models in California, which is basically a pro late model with a control tire, 8-inch control tire with grooves in it, all that stuff. And that was a series on MAV TV that Kenny Shepard put on at Madera, which was for like 11 to 15-year-olds, like really young kids. And the reason he did that was he just wanted to, get the youth movement going. And Haley Deegan was my teammate for a year and a half there. And that's how I got lined up with Toyota, was because Haley Deegan was a Toyota driver first before Ford and all that stuff. And she was developing at Madera, and I was her teammate. And I didn't know anything about, like, I knew what Toyota was because I love Keith Kunz Motorsports, and that's who Kyle
Hmm.
and Christopher and Rico raced for. And she was filling out these like pre-race reports, or her crew chief was, so the team owner. So I asked the team owner if he can fill out some for me, just because I wanted to see if Toyota would, talk to me, because you can't just go like barge your way in Toyota.
Yeah.
No, nobody knew where to start. So they reached out a few wins later. I think I won like 5 of the 8 races, when I was like 12 years old, which to them is huge. That's a lot of promise for them. So And Toyota's really good at like always trying to find the next best thing, right?
Yeah.
For better, for worse.
Hmm.
And that's how I got with Toyota Path. And then I started running some more midgets for Keith Kuhns a little bit and started running super late for Chris Wimmer. That was a ton of fun. Had a lot of fun with Chris. And then I obviously got with Bill McAnally and ran Arca West. That was when I was like 15 and did 2 seasons there and won two of those championships. And then I had 2 seasons of sucking at Billy's, and then I finally had a season of winning. And that's where we're at now.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask a little bit more about that. We'll talk about your most recent, career move in a moment. But you've been with Toyota about as long as I think you've been on my radar and most other folks' radars. I mean, what was that experience like? Being a Toyota development driver, and did you kind of expect to sort of stay in that pipeline? Yeah. How was that experience the last few years?
It was tough. It was a very hard decision. So I moved away from home. Like my family still lives in this house, and I live in my own house, which was an apartment for a year and a half in Mooresville. And
Across the
I
country,
moved
then.
away,
Yeah.
yeah, and I moved away from home when I was 15. I didn't have a driver's license yet because I signed a
Wow.
contract with Toyota that said like if I want get the support from Toyota and their partners and have access to the sim and the gym and all that good stuff. I can't be in California. Um, and my dad didn't want me to go to the series or the Xfinity series when I was 18 and be moving out the house at the same time. He didn't want that culture shock on top of like probably the big, like next year is like a big season for me, the biggest one of my career so far. And now imagine if I was moving from California out there when I'm 19, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Kind of a crapshoot. Um, but that was like the hardest 2 years of my life. Like I didn't have my dad to talk to every day, or my mom, or my dog. I didn't have any friends, and how to kind of take everything that my dad taught me the last 15 years and try to just add to that. And that was super tough. Like I had event training motorsports and fuck, it's kind of emotional, and that's about it, right? So like those were the only people that I had, and Toyota was a big part of that. So that was the reason that I was super invested in Toyota was because they were all I knew. Like I didn't know anybody else, didn't have anybody else. So VMS and Toyota were my big supporters because you have Caitlin at the gym and we have a nutritionist at the gym and Trent would come in the time with Jack and I don't know. So that was like my Toyota family. So the decision to leave, like I had to go to a place where I thought, because I know how to race in a family atmosphere, because I raced at, Venturing Motorsports for the last 3 years, and they're 100% just a family atmosphere, family owned, all that good stuff. And you can fully buy into that team with your time and your investment and just put 100% of what you have to offer into the team, and it always comes back to help you. And I saw that when I went to meet with RCR, and we talked in the middle of the year, and obviously I was interested because it's RCR, but I wasn't going to pursue it because I was supposed to run basically full time in a truck, and then once that opportunity got taken away from me, that was kind of the turning point in
Hmm.
me wanting to go somewhere. So when RCR talked to me again after that, we, it moved really quickly, and I went to meet with them, and I just love the atmosphere and I love the shop and I love the people, and I'm a big people person, so I had to have the right people. And then obviously once I heard Danny Stockman was doing it, that was huge as well. So it's a lot to unpack. But at the end of the day, there's a path to Cup for me where I'm at right now, and I don't know if I saw that where I was before. There's just at RCR, like I walked past the Cup shop on the way to the Xfinity shop, and there's a lot of movement, like obviously, and I don't know, that was just it. Just seemed like with trying to keep my mouth shut as best as possible, like that was the best move for me at that time.
I get you.
I
Yeah.
want I want to touch on, a little bit what you talked about before, because we talked about a lot of stuff right there, what you did. But you know, I moved out to North Carolina myself. I graduated high school early. I drove here. I was young. I was 17, 18 years old. I drove all the way from Houston to my grandparents' house in Georgia because I was like literally afraid to stop, right? Like, I'm coming by myself. And the same thing. I went through the same thing. I didn't have friends. I didn't know anybody. I just had the dude I was driving late models for. I slept on his couch till I was old enough to get an apartment in right by Venturini, by the Walmart across from the mall. It was
Yeah.
a Circle Apartment, something else now. But those difficult moments, and of course, when you get emotional, I know the feeling. I'm very emotional about everything that I've gone through and what I've had to do. Many people close to me know. I'm sure you know some of it, Jesse, but those moments make you better, and they mature you. And the maturity that you need in this sport is unlike anything else, I think, in the world. So the fact that you had to do those things and had to do things on your own and you didn't have anything else, they're making you better. So I see that as a huge win. And there's going to be more times. Well, that's going to be difficult, let me tell you. I mean, I'm 32. I'm going on my 10th year racing in one of the top three series in the sport. So I think, you have fought through some difficulties and come out the other side of it. And you're going to have to continue to do that over and over again. It never stops, to continue to prove that, you can do it. So I think take those moments and those difficult things that you've gone through and continue to use them, and know there's going to be more, but keep fighting. I mean, that would be one thing I would say. So I just wanted to touch on that, but also, I think it's a good move. I think RCR is very family oriented. We've seen it forever, so and in this sport, the right moment and the right timing with the right people around you is everything. And that's how you get results. If you don't have it, it doesn't happen. I've been in all sides of it. I've been with the wrong people at the wrong time in the wrong moments, even though it might have been the right time in my life. It didn't work out. Right. And I've been fortunate enough to still be driving race cars professionally and still be in the game. I think it's just been a crazy journey, but it's awesome to see yours just starting, and getting your start in the Xfinity series next year. So I'm excited to see that, and it's just awesome to hear you talk, man. I know we've talked a little bit over the years, but probably nothing into this detail. So it was really interesting and awesome to hear you talk about everything.
Yeah, I
You
can't
know,
imagine, being 18 years old and having already
Mhm.
made not one but two major career decisions and like career
Yeah.
moves. I mean, that's absurd to me. But I guess one of my final questions is, what are you looking forward to next year? You'd said it that you feel like this is a more clear path towards the Cup Series. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. But between Danny Stockman and everything RCR is going to bring you guys this year, what are your expectations for 2024?
That was one of the things I got away from was expectations, and I don't think that way. It's funny because me and Danny we're just talking about that the other day. Um, Obviously, having Danny in my corner is huge, and all the people at RCR are so supportive and want me to succeed, and obviously, having Whelan there on that side of things is huge, to where I have a 3-year deal, right? That's a multi-year deal to where I can develop, right? So
Yeah.
it takes the pressure off me having to go out there and win races right off the bat and make the playoffs. And if I don't make the playoffs, then I only have 1 year to do it, and if I don't do it, then I'm screwed, right? So how the deal is structured is really, really awesome. And people don't realize how good Danny is. Like, Danny's really awesome, and that helps a lot. Like, having somebody that's done it, been there, done that in your corner, that I can lean on and rely on. So, you know, as far as expectations go, like, again, I just want to do the best job that Jesse Love can do. And I know that's enough to go, win some races in that 2 car with how good that car is. And I know that I can do that. And I just, not sure when, where, how, but I just know that if I do the best job that I'm capable of doing, and be the best leader for my team and my guys, and make smart decisions, and obviously finish races, because that's gonna be really important, is like going and finishing races. You can't make a race car fast, fixing it. You got to be able to work on it and have, not torn up race cars. So, I kind of have, my mindset already picked out going in the next year, how I want to go about it. And that's going to have to change on the fly. There's going to be, run-ins or, different tracks that we're going to
Sure.
have to work on or whatever. But I just want to do the best job that Jesse Love can do. And if I do that, we should be able to win some races and, make the playoffs and see how deep we can go.